Good evening, Dr. Dianin and class. I hope my video finds you well. Please join me in this presentation as I talk about my research topic, the impact of childhood physical punishment on development for a human development class. What is childhood physical punishment? Childhood physical punishment is defined as physical punishment during childhood that involves the use of force to discipline a child, including spanking, hitting, and not limited to slapping by parents, caregivers, or authority figures. Why does it matter? It is crucial to have a comprehensive understanding of the impacts of physical punishment during childhood on the development of a child and how such punishment can affect a child's emotional, cognitive, and behavioral development in the short and long term. The impact of physical punishment on individuals, families, and in reality society as a whole is so detrimental, a fact that we will explore throughout this presentation. Unfortunately, physical punishment is often used as a means of discipline. In fact, it's been used for centuries, and today we have finally found how it carries a profound implication that can be seen throughout not only our country, but many countries in the world. As we delve deeper into the matter, let's explore the examples of physical punishment, the short-term effects, the long-term effects, the effects of cognitive skills, the cultural values, and how they change physical punishment, legal perspectives, and countries where punishment is illegal. Examples of physical punishment experienced by children. Spanking. Spanking is considered the striking of a child with an open hand in their bottom or other body parts. This is the most common form of corporal punishment. Hitting with an object. This can include shoes, whips, belts, wooden spoons, metal objects, and more. Modified methods are another form of physical punishment. These do not require a person striking a child directly, but rather submitting a child to an act of discomfort, such as kneeling on grains of rice or holding heavy books over their heads for a long period of time. Although, when it comes to modified methods, an individual is not immediately punishing a child. There are ramifications just as severe as spanking or hitting with an object, if not more. Oftentimes, when explored, especially in research by Watterson and Jansen, it is demonstrated that through these methods, children oftentimes are left with scars or other impairments. The short-term effects. Anxiety. Children may develop anxiety and a fear of their parents or grown-ups around them. Aggression is also a short-term effect of childhood physical punishment. Physical punishment can model aggressive behaviors, which children are more likely to mimic for a sense of control. Here is where we see children acting out outside of the home. There is a common idiom that bullies are bullied at home, and sadly, oftentimes, this has truth behind it. Children who lack self-control. Children may engage in immediate compliance due to fear of punishment. However, this does not teach them the necessary skills needed to regulate emotions, oftentimes one being physically punished. Children do things for the sake of not being punished, not being strict. However, that does not mean that they understand what they did, why it's wrong, and what they could have done better, which leads to children just feeling lonely, unhappy, impotent, and dissatisfied with their lives and themselves. Long-term effects. Mental effects. There is a correlation between physical punishment and mental illness, such as depression and anxiety. Now, when it comes to behavior, aggression can become a learned response, leading to increased likelihood of delinquent behavior. There are also some very severe cognitive ramifications, such as a lower IQ, which results in difficulties concentrating and impaired learning abilities. This is because children who experience physical punishment are often feeling increased levels of stress, which affect their cognitive development, as stated in research by Wiggers and Pass. Unfortunately, the effects of physical punishment on individuals are extensive and can last a lifetime. Research consistently shows that children subjected to physical punishment are more likely to experience elevated levels of fear, anxiety, and aggression. Such punitive practices can lead to emotional scars that hinder their capacity to form trusting relationships and manage their emotions appropriately. On top of that, any physical scars that they might receive during this ordeal. Moreover, studies have highlighted a correlation between physical punishment and an increased risk of mental health, as we have talked about. Anxiety and depression are not the only ones. If a child is predisposed or suffers from other mental illnesses such as bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, it will be exacerbated by physical punishment. Oftentimes, physical punishment is also attributed to people who have borderline personality disorder. Two research that talk about the effects on cognitive skills are research by Groh and Kaler and by Lee et al. According to various studies, the use of physical punishment as a disciplinary tool during childhood can have detrimental effects on cognitive development. This can manifest in poor academic achievement and may have lasting consequences in the future. It is important to consider alternative disciplinary methods that prioritize positive reinforcement and communication in order to facilitate healthy cognitive and emotional development in children. A 2018 study by Groh and Kaler found that children who received physical punishment often scored lower in cognitive tests measuring memory, language skills, and problem-solving abilities. Similarly, in 2002, a study by Lee et al. Suggested that children exposed to severe physical punishment showed deficits in executive function like impulse control and attention regulation. This research just cements the incredible and profound impact that physical punishment has on children, not just momentarily. A lot of people think that physical punishment is just skin deep, but it is not true. It is much deeper than skin deep. And the effects can last a lifetime and can cause so much pain and so much unnecessary hardship. Cultural values affect the way physical punishment is perceived. Minorities have a higher rate of acceptance of physical punishment than whites. Age is also a factor that determines physical punishment and its perception. Older generations are more likely to participate in physical punishment towards children as they grew up with it and find it normal, while modern parents are more likely to choose nonviolent parenting as the development of research on the consequences has evolved. It is without a doubt that within a family unit, physical punishment can strain the relationship between a child and a parent, destroying trust and ruining the very foundation of love and the feeling of being saved that children should feel with their parents. This bond will be not only ruined but tainted by physical punishment. Instead, A good way to prevent this from happening is to foster open communication and understanding. Physical punishment can generate an atmosphere of fear and resentment, and the cycle perpetuates as children who experience punishment without explanation or understanding might resort to similar methods when they become parents themselves. This creates a vicious cycle. It is no doubt why physical punishment is the oldest form of discipline in the world. Alternatives. Alternatives for physical punishment can be a number of things. A few examples are for parents to set an example of good behavior for their children to follow and imitate. One effective method for encouraging a behavior to occur repeatedly is positive reinforcement, which involves rewarding the desired behavior. Effective communication involves having open dialogues that aim to understand and empathize with the emotions and consequences involved in a situation. Encouraging timeouts for children to calm down and contemplate their actions. It is imperative that parents seek alternatives to physical punishment that promote healthy development, respect, and understanding, as we talked in previous slides. The feeling of resentment and inadequacy that children feel due to physical punishment is not only felt at home, but it's something that will translate to their lives and can translate to the life of their future children. Positive reinforcement and positive communication, as stated before, are essential. Another essential aspect of raising children and ending the perpetuation of physical punishment is for parents to set an example of good behavior. As I said, treat others the way that you want to be treated. And this way, children will not know that they can treat others in a violent and unkind way when they are upset. Timeouts are effective and encourage critical thinking, are just some of the few ways that we can stop physical punishment. Timeouts shouldn't just be putting a child in the corner without telling them what they did wrong. For timeouts to work, you should have an open communication with your child. Tell them what they did wrong, what they could do better, how it's upsetting, and how you can work together to fix the situation. Legal perspectives. Sweden banned all forms of corporal punishment, including within homes, in 1979. Today, more than 60 countries have banned any form of corporal punishment in the home. Unfortunately, corporal punishment has not only been seen in the home, but also in other areas such as schools. Today, in the United States, not only is spanking in the household, or, as it's commonly known, corporal punishment in the household, is legal. In some states, it is also completely legal for teachers to spank children. As a society, we share a collective responsibility to advocate for the well-being of our children. This responsibility extends to policymakers, educators, us, healthcare professionals, and community leaders. Laws and regulations that protect children from physical punishment are essential steps towards safeguarding their rights to a nurturing and violent-free upbringing. Equipping parents with resources and support to embrace non-violent discipline methods is important and equally vital. Countries where corporal punishment is illegal. There is a misconception that corporal punishment is something that happens in only poor countries. But these countries who have banned corporal punishment are not just developed countries, but countries who are developing and countries who could be considered third world countries, like my own, Cuba. There are first world countries like Sweden, Finland, Australia, Austria. There are other countries like Romania, Hungary, Greece, developing countries like Kenya, Congo, South Sudan, my own, Cuba, Mauritius.